can see all of us. Actually, you know what? We're going to start this party a little bit different today, something we haven't done in a while. Give me a second. There we go.
Sit up straight.
We haven't done that for a while. So
Shorty.
something fun, something different.
Yeah, Cheryl, you're short.
I am, and I'm actually sitting on a little wedge. See?
Some of you were probably on the webinar when we invited people to join us on camera, and we actually had a classroom set up, and it was really fun. We didn't keep it like that forever, but just to grab your attention, I thought this was kind of cute. Today we're going to talk about the vagus nerve, and I'm excited about this topic. Here's what happens, guys. Cheryl and Dr. Saunders are always filled with so much random, exciting information about health things. And so then we start talking before the webinar, and then I have to say, no, guys, wait, don't talk anymore. Let's start the webinar and share this stuff with everyone because it's fun. We only see each other once a week. Yeah. So this is the problem. We need to just start on time and then share all our fun stuff together. So you get to welcome to our, I don't know what this is. Our boardroom. I don't know what this background is. I'm kind of confused because it's only one-sided. I don't know what this background is. Either way, welcome. We're excited that you guys are here. I'm just going to give you a quick disclaimer. Dr. Saunders is a doctor, but he is not your doctor. And so we just ask that you chat with your healthcare provider about any of the things that you're considering implementing based on what we talk about today. Okay, so let me change our view a little bit one more time here, I guess. Also, if you want to ask questions, if you can post those in the Q&A, that would be wonderful. It's just a little bit easier for me to manage things there. I almost feel like I should put everyone on camera and we should go to the classroom setting.
Well, hello, John from Utah. Oh, I like it. You're the teacher, Leslie.
Uh-oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Hello, Frank from Ontario, Terry from North Texas, Judy from Kansas. I'm a Kansas girl. Hello, hello.
Awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I'm excited. So you guys are gonna get to hear about, I'll switch this view. It was just fun for a minute, guys. We were talking about the vagus nerve, and Cheryl, tell everyone what you were just sharing about Jeremy on our team.
Yeah, I don't know if he's on the webinar. If he wants to join, reach out to us. But one of our chief operations officer, Jeremy, actually just bought a vagus nerve stimulator. And I hope I'm not sharing too much, but he uses it. And there's a number, like 5 or 6 settings on it. It has something for stress, something for anxiety, something for sleep, something for, I don't remember all the other ones. And he says it has increased his HRV, which is your heart rate variability, by significant points, like up to 20 points. And he only does it 6 minutes a day. Dr. Saunders, how is that working?
Oh, Jeremy's on. Jeremy, let me know if you want to come on camera.
Jeremy, yes. Would you mind sharing your experience with us?
You don't have to. No pressure. But no. If you want to, we'll invite you.
Yeah. Not at all. I'll join. Oh,
Jeremy's I figured Jeremy wouldn't have a problem with that. Okay, hold on.
Jeremy's Chief Operational Officer, COO, great guy. He's from England. Get ready to be treasured.
He's fun. You're gonna love seeing him. So here he is. Well, if you want to come on camera, you can. I might have to allow it.
Mute. There we are. I'm muting. I can get on camera.
Hey, we can hear you now.
There you go.
Okay, I might have to make him a host.
Okay.
Hold on. I can't start my video. Oh, folks.
Yeah,
because I think you can now.
Now you can.
There we go. Helping people more.
Yeah. Oh, Jeremy. Good to see you. Look at this little reunion we're having. Tell us what was going on. Tell us about this thing that you got, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, do you want me to get it? I'll show you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm putting him on the spot and he's ready and willing and able.
Look at him.
Wonderful.
That's great. So again, guys, welcome to the Healthy Heart webinar. Today's topic is the vagus nerve, and I promise this will be relevant, all of our little tangents that were going on here. But this is going to be interesting. Let's see what you got here, Jeremy. I'm going to change the view here so that we can see.
This is my little machine. So as part of my nutrition studies, I studied about the vagus nerve. And it was really interesting. It's the major communication, and Scott, Dr. Saunders, please keep me honest. The major communication highway between the brain and the gut. And about 80%, 70 to 80% of that communication actually comes from the gut. And so that's the vagus nerve. So I've been doing a lot of research around it through how to reset the vagus nerve through various diets and other sort of things, other techniques, and they have what's called a vagus nerve stimulator. And so I thought I was writing about this, and Dr. Saunders, I've written a sort of a 50-page book on it all, so I was going to send it to you.
Nice.
And so I thought, if I'm going to write about this, the theory is very good that I've studied, but I wanted to actually figure out if it did work, if the science worked. And I've got a Aura ring on here, so I can measure my HRV. And I could never get my max HRV above, I think it was about 43 or 46. It was something like that. Anyway, the first day I used, or first couple of days it was, I used it, my HRV peaked at about 68. So it went up significantly. And then over the weekend, I used the stress setting, which was, I think, 4 minutes, and the anxiety, not that I have particularly anxiety, but the anxiety setting for 6 minutes, and then it's got a sleep setting on it. So I did the whole 3 settings before I went to bed, and my HRV overnight peaked at 110. So it was amazing. So I'm really excited by that. I have changed my diet up a little bit as well to help and doing various things, not actually taking any supplements. It's just diet based and resetting the vagus nerve. So there's the machine. It cost me about $240. So I'm still trying it. I'm trying it certain times of the day, and how many times of the day you should use it, and trying it using heat therapy as well. So going down to my local country club and getting in the steam room, sauna and steam room, and trying. I'm experimenting on me. I'm the guinea pig in all of this, because I thought, if I'm writing a book on all of this sort of stuff, and it's not really to sell, it's just for my own personal gain, because if I study something, I have to write it down for it to really stick in my head. So I've got all these notes, and you'll see up on my whiteboard there, I've sort of got some notes on nutrition and everything else. I just geek out on the whole thing all the time. I love it. So
Jeremy, how do you wear that? Can you show us?
This, you just put it here, around there, to where the vagus nerve goes down, and then it just stimulates. It's got these sort of
electrodes.
Yeah. And I put a little bit of gel on there. You can get some special gel. And I've got on my phone, I've got the app that actually turns it on. So it's great. I find this great if I want to just, you can get handheld ones as well. But yeah, I'm just trying it out. And it seems to be, well, the science behind it, my HRV on the Aura app is saying it's gone up to, it's peaking at 110 now, where I couldn't get it above 43, 46, however much I tried. You cut off the alcohol for a week, you fast for 3 days, and I just couldn't get it. In fact, Dr. Saunders and I were talking about it when we were in Tampa, I think when we sat on the front of the boat, and we were just chatting about stuff, and I was saying, I just can't get it. And you said, yeah, sometimes naturally your HRV is quite low, which surprised me, because, as I said, I'm not a particularly stressed person. I look at my heart rate monitor when I'm presenting, and it's sort of like 65 beats per minute, so it doesn't really get very high.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeremy. Why is it important for you to increase your HRV?
Well, I'm doing some studying on the parasympathetic nervous system, and I want to increase my parasympathetic nervous system. And I'm curious to why, if my HRV is low, then I'm in a more sympathetic state. And that sympathetic state, for everyone on the call here, is your fight and flight. And so I just want to I've got a goal. My life goal is to be fit and healthy and still active and walking by the time I'm 100. So that's it.
Good.
That's my goal.
Good
So
stuff.
I'm experimenting on myself the whole time on how I can get out of this fight or flight mode for whatever reason I'm in it, and to get into more of a parasympathetic, a more stress-free, calm, sort of environment. So
Love it.
unfortunately for anyone on the call who likes a glass of wine, that just kills your HRV. It's just sort of, and I
Yeah.
thought for a glass of wine, I'm relaxed, but no,
Yep.
my sympathetic state kicks in and it's just bad. But I
Yep.
guess I'll leave the rest up to our good friend, Dr. Saunders here.
I love it, Jeremy. Thank you so much for sharing. That's
Yeah, you're
great.
welcome. You're
All
welcome.
right. I won't make you stay on camera this whole time. So I'm going to put you back. We may have questions for you later, but I'll let you know.
All
But
right.
thank you for sharing. I love it. And you guys, actually, wait, before you go, tell us what you do for the Barton team.
Yeah, so I'm the chief operations officer. Oh, I put my teeth in. Cheryl and I work closely together. So I'm responsible for customer service. Our wonderful tech team, responsible for that. Our internal tech. What else am I? Our legal, litigation, our compliance and standards. So
Fulfillment.
I've got fulfillment. Yes, fulfillment. I work with, so Dr. Saunders and I went to Salt Lake City to see our formulation company as well. So any new formulations and product development, I'd work with Dr. Saunders and our formulation company, UST, down in Salt Lake City, that it is actually an FDA approved center, which is really important. So the products that we, not that this is a sales pitch at all, but the product, not a salesperson, I'm operations. But the products we do sell, they comply to FDA regulations. So that's really important, because there's a lot on the market there that just doesn't, and it's terrible. They have their scientists, that all the supplements that come in, the ingredients that come in, they have the scientists measure everything. And when we were down there, they said sometimes we would get, I don't know, whatever it is we wanted, and it would just be powder. It would just be nothing in it. There's nothing in it. So, they check the quality and of all of our ingredients, so we know. And then at the end of the process, they recheck everything as well. And what they'll do is they'll give me it's called a certificate of analysis with all the ingredients in, everything that they've checked. I'll check that off against what Dr. Saunders has put in, and what he wants on our formulation. And so every batch that goes into our fulfillment center, I know is the right spec that our good friend Dr. Saunders has detailed out.
One thing that was surprising to me when we went to UST, and he was explaining how they reject a good portion. It was like a quarter of the stuff that comes in. They go, nope, that's not pure. That's not correct. That's wrong. It's got bacteria in it. It's got, for whatever reason, they reject it. And the people that are the salespeople that are the bulk people that bring it in, they go, oh, that's okay. We'll just sell it to somebody down the street. And they do. And people buy it. People who don't test buy it. And so, you really don't know what you're getting in a pill.
Yeah, absolutely. But
All
you do
right,
it
Jeremy.
fast.
It's awesome. Thank you again. Have a good rest of
Okay.
your day.
Thanks, everyone. You take care.
Jeremy.
Bye-bye now.
All right, let's see here.
So people were asking, what is HRV? Someone did put in the chat, it's heart rate variability. It's basically your best indication of longevity and health. Dr. Saunders has explained this before. Your heart beats at irregular intervals, but not so regular that like some apps like the Aura Ring or the Whoop Band can detect how irregular that is. Not irregular like AFib, but how consistent your heart is, and how consistent your heart is in placing those beats together is actually really good, really how long you're going to live or how well you're going to do. Is that right, Dr. Saunders?
Yeah, it's a marker. It's not the cause of, it's a marker. for what Jeremy was talking about, and that is the parasympathetic as opposed to the sympathetic. As you're more sympathetic, the sympathetic nervous system is stimulating your heart to beat at a very regular rate. The parasympathetic is the relaxation response. It's like, no, it's okay. You can beat here or there or whatever. Whenever you fill up, you can just beat, and that's okay. And so the that's okay side is the parasympathetic. That's the vagus nerve stimulator. And that's why the vagus nerve is important, because that's primarily a parasympathetic nerve. And the reason it's called a vagus nerve, the word vagus means wanderer. It's a wandering nerve that wanders. It comes from your brainstem, and that's where they're stimulating in the neck. And it goes all over the body. It goes to your lungs, to your heart, to your intestines, to your bladder. So like people that have like, they have hyper, what is it called? Their bladder is overactive bladder, where they just have to go pee all the time, even though the bladder's not full. Well, that's a parasympathetic response. That's not having enough parasympathetic. So for all of those reasons, it goes all your organs, goes to your liver, lungs, heart, liver, stomach, intestines, all that stuff, bladder. Yeah, it's really very interesting. In fact, in the pancreas, for people that had diabetes, type 1 diabetes, where they don't make any insulin at all, this wasn't people, this was actually rats that were predisposed to type 1 diabetes. When they blocked off the sympathetic stimulation to the pancreas, increased the vagus nerve, the pancreas just started working again, started making insulin again, like normal, like they were just functioning normally again. So there's a lot going on with this autonomic nervous system. And so having a higher heart rate variability is an indicator that your parasympathetic and sympathetic are nicely balanced.
Love it. Okay, this is good information. Post those questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. Audie says, I'm curious, what are the top 3 best ways to stimulate the vagus nerve?
Okay, very good question. Breathing exercises are wonderful. If you just take a breath, the way to do it is to use your
diaphragm?
Diaphragm. Thank you. You use your diaphragm to breathe. And what that means is your stomach is going up and down or in and out when you breathe, and not your chest. So people often will lie down and they'll do like Wim Hof or yoga breathing, and you hold your hand on your chest and your hand on abdomen, and let the abdominal hand go up and down with the breathing, and breathe deeply. So your abdominal hand rises, but the chest hand doesn't rise at all. And that's breathing with your diaphragm. That's a great parasympathetic stimulation. Singing is another great way to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. The relaxation response, meditation, is primarily a parasympathetic response. So if you think of anything that relaxes, calms, even sex is parasympathetic. An orgasm is parasympathetic. So all of those kinds of things are parasympathetic.
All right.
Also heard like actually sitting down, laying with your feet up on the wall is really good for your vagus nerve. And there are also, I've heard eye exercises where you keep your head in one position, but you move your eyes until you get like a yawn or a sigh. That's also really good for your vagus nerve.
Oh yeah. Yawns and sighs. Those are all parasympathetic. Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. I know we have some questions that came in. Let me see here. Okay, Dwight said, would the stimulator be appropriate for someone with atrial fibrillation?
Oh, that is interesting. I wonder. Yeah, to some extent. Some people have atrial fibrillation intermittently, and it's due to a sympathetic stimulation, so adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. And so if you had a parasympathetic response to that, there have been studies on seizure disorders, like people who have refractory seizures that medications don't do anything for. If they get an aura, like they know, uh-oh, a seizure is coming on, they have a handheld stimulator. They put it right on the neck, and they can block off and stop the seizure from happening by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. So I wonder if something like paroxysmal atrial fibrillation could also be helped with parasympathetic. I haven't seen studies on it, but I'm sure it's possible.
Jeremy, if you're on, did he mention where he got his?
No, he didn't, but I think I might have it.
Okay. Or post it in the chat, Jeremy, if you're on, or if Cheryl finds it. I know someone had asked about it.
Paul Setto is the name of it.
Okay.
Ulsetto.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Rose said, can you explain what mitral valve prolapse is? Also, what can I do to fix or help that?
Okay. Mitral valve prolapse means the mitral valve, which is the valve in between the left atrium and the left ventricle, that prevents the blood from going back into the lungs. It stops it from going to the lungs when the heart beats and pushes the blood out into the body. So that's the valve that's there. And it's actually very common to have mitral valve prolapse. That is where it prolapses, means it closes, but it opens up a little bit and allows some to go backward. It used to be like when they first found out that mitral valve prolapse, and they were doing ultrasounds, echocardiograms, and they were seeing this mitral valve prolapse. Then what happened? The backlash from that was life insurance companies were saying, "Oh my gosh, you have a valve problem in your heart. We're not going to give you the preferred rate for life insurance." Well, it turns out that it's actually very common, and it doesn't shorten your life, and it doesn't really cause any problems. So a small amount of mitral valve prolapse is not a big issue. So that now even people with mild mitral valve prolapse can get the preferred rate on their life insurance. So that's what mitral valve prolapse is. The reason that happens is because the mitral valve has an unusual distinction of being the only valve that has a cord attached to it so that it doesn't go too far. So the mitral valve, because the ventricle is under a lot of pressure, and so that valve has to hold a lot of pressure, and so it commonly pops up. So right in the middle of it, there's a little cord that holds it down, chordae tendineae, that keeps it from going too far and blowing out and letting the blood go back. What often happens is that little cord is actually part of the muscle of the heart, and if it's not contracting properly to keep the valve from going too far, then it'll prolapse easily. And so one of the things that you can do is build up your heart. And the way you do that is with exercise. And this would be strength training exercises or HIIT training, where you push really hard, like do a maximum output for a short period of time, and do that in intervals. Like when somebody goes to the gym and they're weightlifting, they're pushing really hard, doing 10 reps. And then they rest for a minute, and then they do 10 reps on something else, and then they rest for a minute. Those kinds of things, they actually strengthen the muscle of the heart, which includes that chordae tendineae that prevents that mitral valve prolapse. So that's an unusual thing, that there is something you can actually do to help that. Whereas with the other ones, if you have a prolapse of the aortic valve or the pulmonary valve, it doesn't you don't have that option of fixing it with like exercise.
Okay, I want to recap here a little bit, or maybe revisit this, but why do we want to stimulate the vagus nerve?
Okay. It's not so much that we want to stimulate the vagus nerve, it's the vagus nerve represents the part of the autonomic nervous system that is the relaxation part. So we stimulate the vagus nerve because it helps all of the things work better that relax the body. So people who are stressed and they get stomach problems, and that's a common thing, you know, people with anxiety and they can't eat and they get nausea, their intestines don't work. I mentioned diabetes, that's a vagus nerve issue too, and overactive bladder, that's a vagus issue too. And so it isn't that everything stops working, is that something isn't going to be working right if you don't have good parasympathetic stimulation and through the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve stimulator is to increase the parasympathetic and hopefully to balance that. Because most of us, I mean, think about it, modern life, we don't sit around, well, most people don't sit around all day with nothing to do. Most of us have too much to do and not enough time to do it. And then we're stuck in traffic and we're all like honking horns and get out of my way, I gotta get to the dentist's office. And all of the things that drive us, that keep us going, are very stimulating. And we drink coffee too, that's stimulating. And so all of the stimulation that we have, we need some relaxation. I mean, that's like something that is missing from our lives. So we get one of these electronic stimulators to relax us. I kind of laugh at it because to me, if you can do yoga, do meditation, take some time to relax, meditation and prayer work very well. Writing in a journal is a wonderful way to stimulate the vagus nerve. Breathing exercises, singing, you know, singing, take voice lessons. I took voice lessons, by the way. My daughter teaches voice and she's really good. I was in church sitting next to her. She said, "You have a really good voice." And my wife commented on that and said, yeah, he took voice lessons. And that's why before that, he didn't. And then now he does. So voice lessons are very good for the vagus nerve. Singing generally is. Oh yeah, there you go. Look at that. Everything I said plus more.
I know. I thought it was interesting that probiotics are on the list.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I mean, I don't know where this came from. This is probably AI. I mean, I have no idea actually where this is, but a lot of this, you know, the chanting, or I am seeing cold exposure or splashing your face with cold water. I see a lot of people doing those types of things now. Fasting, I bet.
Fasting.
I bet. Yeah, that's not a shocking one, you know.
No.
Yeah, if you're not going to sing, you can hum.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. Laughter. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take a look at those. I have those up on the screen. Maybe write a few of those down that you want to try or that you're interested in, and commit to that and see, you know, how things change for you. What do you think we're going to notice? You know, if we're not monitoring our HRV and et cetera, what do you think we'll notice when maybe our vagus nerve is in a good spot or it's working properly? I guess I don't know the right way to say that, but.
So generally the heart rate is lower with vagus stimulation or with parasympathetic, you get a slower heart rate compared to the adrenaline and sympathetic stimulation, which causes an increased or harder heartbeat. So one of the things that people notice is, oh, I can't feel my heartbeat anymore. You know, I used to be able to, if I was sitting quietly, I could actually feel my heartbeat, or I lay down and go to sleep and I can feel my heartbeat, and I don't feel the heartbeat anymore. And that's because it's not being stimulated. It's more relaxed.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit more about this in relation to the heart. Why? How does this affect the heart? Where do we, I think it's important for us to relax. So that's an easy connection. How else does this affect the heart?
Okay, so let's talk specifically about heart disease. When we talk about heart disease, we talk about a lot of problems that can happen with the heart. One of which is a cardiovascular disease, and that's where the blood vessels of the heart are not getting enough blood flow. And if you have a lot of stimulation from the sympathetic nervous system, so overstimulation, what happens is you don't repair the blood vessels of your heart very well. So you have damage to the heart vessels and they don't repair very quickly. And so you build up more atherosclerosis in your arteries. Whereas when you have parasympathetic stimulation, you repair things very quickly. The parasympathetic is the anabolic metabolism. Anabolic metabolism means rebuilding and repairing. Catabolic metabolism is breaking down. And so the stimulation of adrenaline, cortisol, the stress response, those are all catabolic responses, and they induce the catabolic metabolism, which breaks down and causes more clotting and causes less repair. And the parasympathetic is exactly the opposite. So it is actually very important. And so in the reversing heart disease kit that we have in the book, when you read the book, what you'll find is that there's a whole lot on reducing stress. And a lot of this is parasympathetic nervous system stimulation. If you look and you go, oh yeah, cold therapy, oh yeah, breathing techniques, meditation, all that stuff. It's that it's a very important part of keeping your heart healthy.
I'm going to share an image. Someone is asking kind of where the location of the vagus nerve is in comparison to the carotid artery. And so I'm going to show this. Hopefully this is right. Dr. Saunders can tell us. It's from nature.com. So kind of interesting. They're very close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just leaving it up here for us all to look at silently and think about. But you think about that and, what kind of an impact does that make if you're using a type of stimulator there? Are we looking at problems or is that okay?
Well, the stimulator is a very weak microcurrent that stimulates the nerve to produce an electrical response. So it induces a current in the nerve, and the nerve causes an impulse to go through the nerve. And so it's random. It's not something that is specific to going to your stomach. That's not, not the nerve going to your bladder or your pancreas or whatever. It's random, but you can see where that nerve, that the vagus nerve was right in between the carotid artery and the vein. And so the nerve was right in the middle there. And you can actually, most people, if you look at their neck, you can see the little pulsations in the neck. That's the vein. That's not the carotid artery. The carotid artery is kind of hard to feel. You have to kind of push hard to get around the vein, and then you can push against that carotid artery. And then the vagus nerve is right in between there.
Okay. All right, Frank. Oh, welcome back, Frank and Pat. When or what symptom should one consider a vagus nerve stimulator? Did I ask that maybe already?
Yeah. As far as symptoms go, if you're overstressed, I don't know. It's a gadget, and I don't know that the gadget is necessary. I think that list that Leslie put up a minute ago that had all of those things on it. I think if you looked at that list and said, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Exercise is a great way. And just doing all of those things on a regular basis is probably better than having a vagus nerve stimulator. I don't know. They do have implantable stimulators. They actually, you know, for the people with seizures, for example, they take an electrode and put it on the vagus nerve, and they stimulate the vagus nerve to prevent seizures from happening. But I don't know that everybody would want one of those. I think, you know, the gadget is very interesting, and yeah, it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I think that in the long run, you're better off with the breathing techniques and meditation and singing and exercise and doing all the things that relax the body and cause the vagus nerve to work better, rather than external forcing stimulation.
All right. I'm going to read this from, I think this is, yeah, Frank and Pat said, just want to say, Dr. Saunders, your program works. A few weeks back, Pat's blood pressure was great, but her pulse was consistently increasing to even 100 to 101 beats per minute a few times. You suggested to increase her fluid intake. It's been about 3 weeks, and blood pressure and pulse are perfect. No meds since starting the glucose detox protocol 104 days ago. Pat's currently doing a phase 1 reset after vacation. Fasting glucose is 4.8, 5.1, 4.6, 4.8 the last 4 days, with perfect blood pressure and pulse, using several Barton nutrition products also. Thank you.
Wow, good. That's good to hear.
Yes.
I'm glad it works.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, here we go. More questions. Let's see. John says, what is your experience with Warfarin, 5 milligrams? The medication guide from the pharmacy says take 1 per day. It says, I was told by the cardiologist to take it 2 times per day. There are a good number of significant side effects.
Yes. Okay. So warfarin is not something that you dose based on what somebody tells you to do. It has to be dosed based on testing. And so if you start off with 5 a day, that's a kind of a reasonable amount. You may end up going up to 10 a day. But you have to test the PT-INR on a regular basis, like at first, maybe every other day. And after that, once you're stable, then once a week or every other week. So it's not something that you should go based on somebody else's recommendation. It must be tested. And yes, there are significant side effects. Remember, what it does is inhibit vitamin K. And vitamin K is what brings calcium out of your soft tissues and into your bones. So when you're taking warfarin, you're going to tend to get osteoporosis more easily. And you'll also have calcium buildup in your soft tissues, which means calcium deposits in your arteries, which means atherosclerosis. So, you know, pick your poison kind of thing, right? Because it is rat poison after all. Warfarin has fallen out of favor with most doctors, but it's a lot less expensive than some of the other ones, and some of the other ones have other like neurological side effects. So to avoid those, yeah, pick your poison. It's terrible.
Yeah. Okay, Thomas is new. Welcome, Thomas. And Thomas is wondering, what is the best way to monitor my progress? I've been told I need a quadruple bypass and just had my right carotid artery partially bypassed. I was told prior to the carotid surgery that my coronary arteries were about 90% blocked, and I'm in urgent need of the bypass. I've been using your Healthy Heart program since June 15th. I need to know the best way to find out if my coronaries are faring well with the use of the program. My cardiologist is not a supporter of this type of therapy and therefore not very cooperative for monitoring purposes.
No, cardiologists can't afford to. Their license would be on the line if they did anything except the standard of care. So they have a box that they have to fit into, and they can't jump out of the box at all. And so especially cardiology. Wow. So that's a tough problem. So once you've gotten this far, where do you go with that? And sometimes it means, gosh, you're going to have a bypass or a stent or something to be able to function, because if having this heart disease limits your ability to do things, then you can't do things to get better, right? So at some point, it becomes counterproductive. So I don't know. I did have one patient a while back who had 90% blockage of 3 different arteries, and he was told, if you don't have a bypass, you're not even going to make it 30 days. And he said, I do not want to have that surgery. So statistically speaking, the surgery has one benefit, and that is less chest pain. That's it. People do not live longer with the surgery. Every study that's been done on cardiac bypass surgery, the length of life is the same if you do it or you don't do it. It's the same. So don't look at length of life, look at quality of life. And if you're saying, gosh, I can't make it to the mailbox to get my mail because I have this terrible crushing chest pain, then you know what? You may be looking at bypass surgery to get rid of the terrible crushing chest pain. So back to my patient who was that bad. And he didn't want to have the surgery. So he said, what are my options? And we talked about various options. And there's something called autophagy, which is autophagy. Auto means self, phagy is eating. So where you eat yourself. And eating yourself means eating all of those atherosclerotic plaques in your arteries and the amyloid plaques and all of the buildup of proteins and fats and cholesterol and all that stuff, because you're not eating it. And so he said, okay, I'm going to do that. And he did a 30-day water fast. And in 30 days, he was completely cured and was playing a full tennis match without any chest pain at all. And that persisted. I saw him for 3 years after that. I haven't seen him in the last little while, but for 3 years afterward, he continued to play tennis and have no chest pain or anything. There is a way to clear that out. And when somebody's that bad, sometimes you have to pull out the big guns and do like a 30-day water fast cleanse. So people have done that successfully. I'd recommend that you find somebody that can help you with that, somebody who knows what they're doing with fasting, because doctors don't. In fact, in medical school, we were told you should never tell anyone to fast. And it turns out that the single best thing anyone can do for their health is to fast. So, so you can't ask a doctor because they just don't know.
And Thomas also said, I have 3 stents already.
Oh yeah, 3 stents already. Okay, goodness. All right. Well, you know what? It's an issue. So, dealing with that, extensive amount of problem is going to require either some kind of surgery or some autophagy or something like that.
I saw a comment come in from Wayne, and Wayne says 4 veins, 100% blocked, 1 vein, 95% blocked with low blood pressure beyond surgery.
Yeah. Veins or arteries? It's probably arteries. Wow, that doesn't leave a lot of blood flow available. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I mean, what do you do in that case? Recommending the fasting again? I mean, that you're at your last resort kind of thing if you're not having surgery.
Yeah, if surgery is not an option, 100% blocked, then you have to somehow make new vessels. And so one of the things that fasting does is create the anabolic metabolism to repair and rebuild, and you actually make new blood vessels to go around where the blockages are. So that happens.
Okay. All right. Let me see here. Maria says, what is the acceptable LDL level for secondary prevention? I have known CVD and 2 stents.
Okay, you have known cardiovascular disease, you have 2 stents, and the LDL is what your cardiologist will focus on. The LDL has almost nothing to do with it. And it's of all the risk factors put into an AI system in England, it came out 43 out of 46. So it was, the LDL really is not even anything you should look at. There's just too many other things to deal with, and LDL is the least important of all of them. Some of the things to look at is clotting, inflammation. Why would you be clotting? Or why are you not repairing? So then you have to look at repair. So something like lipoprotein A would have something to do with repair. So looking at your clotting factors, your inflammatory markers. I usually look at D-dimer for almost everyone. If they have high D-dimer, that means they're making a lot of clots, and so we find out why. Why is that happening? Is it inflammatory? Is it infectious? Is it due to a genetic abnormality? Is it dietary allergies and reactions and all that kind of stuff? So finding the reason why is useful, because you know what to do about it. Well, if you don't know why, then you're shooting in the dark all the time.
Okay, I need to head out a little early, so I will see you guys soon.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and
Leslie.
Cheryl will take over asking some questions here.
Yeah, we have like 5 minutes left. So you, Dr. Saunders, you recommend fasting so much, and then you were just telling these 2 people who may have no other opportunity but to fast. You said, work with a professional. Are there professional people who help others fast?
Oh yeah. There are people who are very adept at fasting. They know how. They know what to do. There's all kinds of books on it. You can look up books. You can look for professionals to help. There are a lot of integrative physicians or functional medicine doctors that will help people fast. They have to have, I don't know that they have, and there's not a specific training for it, but experience goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And for women, it's a little different than for men. And so if there's some books out there that explain, one of them called Fast Like a Girl. And that is, women have to be careful where they are in their cycle when they're fasting and things like that. So knowing some of the ins and outs and hows of fasting, and then refeeding, eating after you're done fasting. Refeeding comes from the research that's done with lab rats, animals, where they feed the animals. So refeeding, it's humans don't refeed, but we start eating again after a fast. Anyway, so understanding that, well, what's the optimum way to do it? It takes some training and some understanding.
I'm sure you probably, if you're considering a 30-day fast, I imagine the support would be invaluable to know when you're struggling, what's going to help you get through the next day, or what to drink or not to drink. Here's a question. Not many non-dairy milks have a little calcium carbonate in them. Is this contraindicated for people with clogged arteries?
No. Calcium carbonate is something that makes the it's not for flavor or anything. It's for consistency. It's for the chemistry of what they're making the milk, the beverage to be more like milk. No, it's not contraindicated at all. In fact, you have plenty of calcium in your diet every day. That's not where the calcium buildup in your arteries comes from. The calcium is always there, and your blood calcium is kept at a very narrow range, and it's consistent in that range, no matter how much you eat. If you took a whole bunch of calcium pills, your blood calcium would stay the same. Wouldn't be different at all. Your kidneys would dump a bunch of it. Some would be put in your bones. Some would be deposited your tissues, but your blood calcium is going to stay the same. So no, that's not a contraindication.
Okay. Gerald says, I have LBBB. So
left bundle branch block.
Okay. So my doctor suggested pacemaker and a defibrillator. I am not in agreement. Any research in the world with the stimulator?
Oh, with the vagus nerve stimulator, left bundle branch block. Okay, so think of left bundle branch block of what it is and what causes it. And so a cardiologist doesn't know. They don't look for causes. They don't look at causes. They don't learn about causes. So you have to learn yourself about what causes that. Left bundle branch block is where there's not enough energy to conduct. So it's a conductive problem of getting the impulse from the atria to the ventricle so that everything contracts together. And the left bundle branch block stops that from happening, so you don't get a coordinated contraction of your heart. It's an energy problem. And so it's kind of like atrial fibrillation. You need to increase the available energy to your heart. One of the ways of doing that is to rebuild mitochondria, which fasting is a wonderful way to rebuild mitochondria. The vagus nerve helps to rebuild mitochondria because it's the anabolic metabolism, which is where that rebuilding happens. But I have not read any research, so I don't know if vagus nerve stimulation can actually induce that. I don't see that it can't, but I don't know that it can either. I think the best way is to do the usual things, which is get proper nutrition, get proper sleep, exercise to rebuild that. And then adding in the supplements, some of which we have in the heart, what's it called?
Healthy heart support.
Healthy heart support. Yeah, which is coenzyme Q10 and L-carnitine. And then you'd have to get D-ribose and magnesium. And those four are important for building up the heart. But if you don't exercise, then it's not going to repair the mitochondria very well.
Okay, I have one last question from Rose. I have sympathetic reflex dystrophy syndrome. I had a fall over 30 years ago. I hurt my sympathetic nervous system. How can I manage my pain and sensitivity?
Oh, that's really important. So they call it reflex sympathetic. If it's pain, then it's usually like regional pain syndrome or something like that. And it's the same thing. It's equivalent to fibromyalgia. And it's the damage to the sympathetic nervous system causes constriction of blood vessels, lack of blood flow. When you're not getting enough blood flow, then lactic acid builds up. You get spasms, pain, aching, all of the things when you don't repair that area wherever the area is that isn't getting blood flow. And that is due to the sympathetic nervous system. So having a parasympathetic response is a very good way of handling that. And that's going back to go to the book, sleep and exercise and let's see, get rest and exercise, get the right nutrition, and then meditation and all of the other things that can help the parasympathetic nervous system to balance. And I wonder, I haven't seen any studies on this either, but I wonder if you tried a parasympathetic, a vagus nerve stimulator, if that would help this autonomic nervous system dysfunction.
Yeah, we go full circle there, right? Yeah. Vagus nerve, good for a lot of things. All right, thank you. This is the end of today's webinar. Thank you, Dr. Saunders. We will see you next week. Go to your patients. The rest of you, we look forward to